Do you believe in miracles? We got Fizzle in the house. Fizzle, what's good, man? Fizzle, glad to have you here.
Let's go. This the South Harmon Podcast. Glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay. Dynasty best ball, that's my favorite way. 40 chess trade show. Let's make a trade today or check a AMA. You know Adam at the ATM. Mike always in the building. He gon' stay with him. They gon' start every show off with their own trade. Fantasies a big ocean. They made their own wave. Make sure you tapping in Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesday night, Saturday morning, ain't no better way. Hit that notification bell when the news break. Go subscribe right now, don't get the news late. Destination Devi, that's the team. Dynasty football, man, that's my favorite thing. I remember Biggie said it was all a dream. Now people watching on their phones and computer screens. Welcome to the team. Let's start the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Dynasty Trade Show. After a week off, I am back and without a beard. I absolutely fucking hate it. I hate it. Long story, had to shave it for work. You know, stupid respirator test. But we're back, beardless, 20 pounds lighter. How you doing, Adam, man? It sucks taking a week off, man. I don't feel like I don't get to see you. I don't get to do this. I miss it. Like, this is going to sound horrible to say. It's like a drug addiction. You know what I mean? Like, I get withdrawals.
Yeah, man. Listen, I remember when I was out for COVID and I was like, dude, we're not doing AMA. Like, I was sick and was like, fuck, man, all I want to do is go down there and do it. But I'm with you, man. We're glad to have you back. We're glad to have you here. Even though they took Mike's beard, we got Mike back. So we're ready.
Come up with a better story, man. Like, I was at the strip club and I got crabs in the beard, or like something cool,
something awesome that maybe they had to get rid of it. But we got Mike back. He doesn't have the beard. We're back Saturday morning to bring you the Dynasty Trade Show. So if you're not subscribed, please go down, drop that subscription for us. If you could also like, comment, let us know what you think of the video, right or wrong. If we're all terrible, if you like what we did, if you have things that you thought about, let us know in the comments. So without further ado, Mike, we're going to get into trade of mine here. Now, this is actually going to be two trades, but Mike, so this is a league which is a Superflex best ball league. We're starting 12 players, obviously 12 team. So the MPH owner, I'm not going to say he hasn't made trades, but this league also hadn't made a lot of trades of recent, right? The season's over, kind of stale. So, start just throwing offers out. When we end up settling, he's trying to get rid of Lawrence, which wasn't where I started, but all of a sudden I'm interested. You want to get rid of Lawrence. So I send the 103, the 105, and Treylon Burks, which, like, realistically, man, that's a decent price, heavy price for anybody. I wanted to get another quarterback on this team. This is a team that's really good, but quarterback injuries and not having enough depth at that position, honestly, was what kind of kept me out of it. So my thoughts were, am I better off having Treylon Burks and then also, what quarterbacks are going to be there at 103 and 105, or do I take Trevor Lawrence? The Adam Thielen part, he wanted something extra. I threw it in. He pressed the button. I could care less about losing Thielen. So I guess I want to get your opinion. Unadulterated, McNutted, no beard. What does he think of this trade here?
How many starters is it again? Did you say start 9?
Start 12.
Start 12.
Superflex best ball, start 12.
Man, in a start 12 in best ball, it's a lot to pay for a quarterback.
Just shoot me straight, man. Tell me. I want to hear it.
I'm not gonna lie, on the top one when I'm looking at it, the Adam Thielen part plays nothing into it. Like, he's just kind of whatever. I mean, in best ball, I guess he's fine. Maybe he makes your lineup once, twice next year. Like, we hope, if he's still playing. Like, whatever. Burks is a receiver I like, and you know how much I love the 103 and the 105. I mean, that realistically could be two quarterbacks in a best ball league. And two quarterbacks that are going to be ranked somewhere in the, top 15, 16.
Yeah. Top, definitely Dynasty. All four of them will likely be top 20-ish assets at quarterback right out of the box.
I don't want to rely on him. T-Law is a guy I really want. Adam, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I don't think I'd be comfortable enough in a best ball start 12 to pay that for T-Law, though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
man, if you change that 105 to maybe like, 110, 111, like, all right, fuck it. I need the quarterback. I need the elite quarterbacks. The 105 part it just sticks. It hurts. It hurts,
Yeah,
man.
no,
I
I'm
know
with
it
you
had to hurt you letting it go too.
for sure.
But this is also like nobody knows the league better than yourself. And it depends on how often like elite quarterbacks, top 8 quarterbacks become available. And if it's not very often, you're dealing with managers or owners who don't trade, don't pay attention, aren't willing to move things unless you massively have to overpay. I get it, man. I got some leagues like that in myself. But if I'm just looking on the surface from the outsider, I'm like, damn, I think MPH did a good job just being that pain in the ass to get every last bit he could out of you for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, let's just say I wanted to pay less than this. You wanted me to pay more than this. We ended up settling on this. To get to the settings, though, and to Mike's point, Mike, so my quarterbacks in this team, they're Lamar Jackson, Kenny Pickett, Trey Lance, and I also have Geno Smith. And when you think about this year, right, Trey Lance got hurt right away. Lamar gets hurt later in the year. Kenny Pickett was, serviceable, maybe. That's okay. Being nice. Yeah. And then he got a concussion. So, Mike, all of a sudden I'm in the playoffs with a team that's really good, and I'm looking at playoffs. I got my only quarterback's Geno Smith. So, to answer the question, though, that you pose.
Not a good feeling.
Yeah, that's right? Not fun, right? So, I'm going to have 2 quarterbacks that are elite now, in my opinion. You may not think Lamar is anymore, but Trevor Lawrence and Lamar Jackson. Plus, I still have depth. Now, here's the thing. I think I've over-accumulated value to go ahead and make this move. I agree with you on the surface. It's probably it's heavier than I wanted to pay. I really look at it, though, as consolidating 2 quarterbacks that have upside that could get into a point where, like, if that ends up being Bryce Young and Will Levis and they both end up being really good assets, I'm going to look back at this trade and not like it. But
you'll hate it, yeah.
Right. And I know that going in. But the reality is, too, if they don't fire, if I don't move them appropriately, Trevor Lawrence is the asset I want. And in a league like this, to your last point, was these quarterbacks never get moved without getting one back. Like, Mahomes got moved in a big deal, but Dak came back to that owner. Like, there's no one that's just trading quarterback without getting something back. Now, he obviously knows 103 and 105 like that could be quarterback options. But I'd say it's a little bit an overpay, but I've also built a team that probably affords me the opportunity to do so. So anyway, what happens then, Mike, is all of a sudden this owner hasn't done much. He makes another trade, and then he's talking to this other deal down here. And I guess that's the other thing. This time of year, if it's stale, just send out some offers. See if you can get something popping, and then next thing you know, a league that's been stale. Mike, we got 4 deals done in the last 2 days in this league. I won 2 of them. There's other trades done. So we get to this one down here, Chris Olave and the 304 I acquire for Jahan Dotson, the 204 and the 211. So the theme here is I'm consolidating in best ball, which we don't talk about. So you're probably like, what? These are the tear down guys. These don't make any sense. But, Mike, these are the deals we got.
I'll consolidate for that, though. You reached out to me about this one, and probably the biggest Chris Olave fan there is. We argue back and forth about him all the time. I love Jahan Dotson, too, man. I really liked listening to you and Nate on 4D last week while I was gone talk about Jahan Dotson. I'm a big Jahan Dotson fan, but I'm a much bigger Chris Olave fan, and I don't think it's relatively close how they performed their rookie years, right? Chris Olave was the guy. Jahan Dotson had some moments. Very, very different. Very different. Chris Olave is fantastic. So, if this is all it cost me to consolidate to move up from Dotson, which is quite a few tiers to get up to where Chris Olave is the 204 and the 211, and somehow you finagle the 304 back, which almost cancels out the 211, right? You rather have the 211, right? It's 5 picks earlier,
of course,
right? But still, you look at it and you go like, basically the same shit. Basically the same shit. Jahan Dotson, an early second to move up 5 tiers, 6 tiers in wide receiver ranks, even in a best ball. Like, I'm good with doing that, because how many times is Jahan Dotson going to enter your lineup versus how many times Chris Olave? Like, Chris Olave is a threat weekly to be a above average, a top 24 wide receiver for you and deliver spike weeks. Dotson, on the other hand, as long as Terry McLaurin's there, we don't really know, right? His ceiling is a little bit capped.
Sure.
I'm not going to go into the whole you guys talked about the A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith thing. Yes, could two of them coexist? Yeah, but the difference is the Eagles had Jalen Hurts. Washington
they had a great offense and a really good quarterback.
Washington has my boy Sam Howell.
Until further notice.
Until further notice. So, yeah, I love the bottom one. So you completely redeemed yourself. Completely redeemed yourself.
Well, I had a feeling Mike was going to say this because, truthfully, Mike, that deal up top was not as fun for me to make. But, I kind of felt like I finagled it down to the point where even though it hurt a lot and I'd probably lose in value, I was willing to make it. And I'll say this too, what I'm kind of learning, and this is I think a thing that everyone listening can apply, it's not necessarily your own trades. Even in best ball, you can find ways to win value trades at basically all the positions. But what you're really going to struggle to do in probably every one of your leagues, unless you get a fleece done, is go get you a top 6, top 8, top 10 quarterback. So the way I kind of am looking at this, Mike, especially until this market starts to change, if it does. I mean, we got 4 quarterbacks that we hope come into the first round and add depth to this position. I'm kind of the mindset where I'm going to win a lot of value trades in little pieces, little different types of moves where I'm going to win value over and over, which gives me the luxury, if I built correctly, to go make the move up top. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. One, get active in your league and send out trade offers. See if you can get it going. Sometimes you get the juices flowing and all of a sudden moves start happening. 2, in best ball, I will tier up if I think it makes sense, even though we talk all the time about tearing down. But you got to have a roster that's built appropriately. And then finally, skill players, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. Typically, I want to win the value on those. But if I am going to pay up, it's going to be for the quarterback position.
Well, too, if you look at it as a whole, right, you like to look at your deals as a cumulative effect, right? The whole totality of what you've done.
Right.
If you put these two together, because it's the same day of manager, and you look like you're getting Trevor Lawrence and Chris Olave, and you're sending away Burks, Dotson, early second, 103, 105, 211. Like, it looks much better than when they're broken apart. It really does. Like, you can wrap your head about it. Like, man, there's really no defined quarterback asset going back. Yes, we think the 103 will be a quarterback, and maybe the 105 is going to be a quarterback. But for right now, they're just picks. Adam, we talked about it a couple weeks ago on an AMA. I think Felix was on. Like, what would I pay in rookie picks for Chris Olave? And I think I said at the time the 104. And I still stand behind that. So I take the 105 and I don't know, maybe that 211, right? For Chris Olave. I still want the Olave side, even in a best ball.
Yeah.
Good. Then you look at the rest of it, it's like, all right, you sent away Burks, but you got back Dotson. So you did down tier a little bit, picked up a third, but then we're just left here looking at the 103, the 211, the 204 for Trevor Lawrence. Like, fuck me. fuck me, that's light, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you put them together and you start to cancel out pieces, you go, holy shit. When you look at just one deal at a time, you go, man, I think you paid a little too much for Trevor Lawrence on the top deal. But then you look at the bottom deal and I go, I think it's a steal on Chris Olave. And you mash them both together and you go, yeah, it's a really good deal for you. Really good. If we made this one giant one, you killed it.
Abracadabra, we're not done. Magically appears to the deal, Mike. Let me give you the cherry on top. So when I make the top deal, right, I send 2 assets for 1. And PH has to make a roster move. Well, he didn't have to, but he did. You don't have to do it right now. Guess who he dropped?
Adam Thielen?
Juwan Johnson.
Oh, my gosh.
And guess who I picked up, baby? Add Juwan Johnson into the deal, and I don't care. You could put Juwan Johnson. Let me ask you this, Mike. Trevor Lawrence and Juwan Johnson, will you do the deal now before you get to the bottom deal?
In a best ball, man, you know how much I love buying.
I knew. Oh, see, I knew I had to have something. Right. Mike's coming back off a week, no beard. I had to give him something to get excited about this.
You throw Juwan Johnson into any deal, I'm in.
Only 30 of the $200 off-season budget. We are back, baby. We're back. So let's go. Juwan Johnson is not making the thumbnail, Mike. Don't get that excited. But
did anybody else bid on Juwan Johnson? That's the real question.
Yeah, but nothing that got close to mine. I wasted some money, but I would have honestly spent almost all 200. Like,
that's because they don't know, man. They're not tapped into us. They're not tapped into South Harmon, so they have no idea.
All I know is I'm here for it. So I'll take the little extra piece I got back, not knowing I would. All right, off of my own deal. So we got a 12-team Superflex Start 11. This is a lineup league, Mike. Speaking of Jahan Dotson, I don't know if he's going to make the thumbnail, but he's pushing for it right now. 2 deals in a row. 112 and Jahan Dotson, Mike. Lineup start 11. Where you at?
I really like Jahan Dotson, man, but I really am about this liquidity life. And as shitty as it says to just re-roll what was the 108, 109 last year for a lot of people in rookie drafts, shittier class, into the 112 in this class, deeper class, hopefully better class. On the surface, you hate it, but I love the liquidity part, man. I'm going to take the 112 every day of the week just because I can do so much more with it. Like, I have to find people to believe in Jahan Dotson as much as I believe in Jahan Dotson, or to like him even relatively close. There's a lot more buyers for the 112, man. More people are in on it. You get closer to that rookie draft, there's people going like, yeah, I'm going to nail the next Justin Herbert, Justin Jefferson with this 112. I want that pick. Let me go trade for it right now. Jahan Dotson doesn't have as many buyers, just the way it is. So give me the pick. Love it. Good job, Castle Black.
Yeah, the other thing about basically that's all there is to it. Mike already hit everything. The one last thing I'll say too is if you, and I think there's so many options. As you see in the last trades I've made, one of the things I've done with my leverage where I can, Mike, now it's not in all these leagues, but when I can is I want to try to get it into areas which are more certain at reasonable price because I have leverage, right? Now, you already touched on that. The last thing I will say is that with 112, even if you stay and make a pick, you don't use it as leverage, you don't trade it, whatever. If you stay and make a pick at 112, you have a reset again. Right, so right, think about it in just a year-to-year format, right? Jahan Dotson, if he doesn't have a good year this year, that is going to be a value that cliffs quite a bit. And if you look at the end of next year, where Jahan Dotson could fall to, 112, unless it's Sky Moore bad, isn't going to fall past what Dotson's bad could be next year. You get a full year reset on the reroll. Not only can you go way up in value, not only can it trade everywhere, but at worst case, if you keep both these assets and they trend down, that 112 player is still coming off his rookie year and hype can buy in. Whereas Dotson now 2 years in, not having great years, you're not going to be able to do shit with him. So I think that's the big edge right there for me.
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
Easy one, man. Sorry that your deal, Castle Black, wasn't talked about a little more. But, hey, here we are because I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great you are for 50 minutes. Attention. Yeah, Castle Black knows what he's doing. All right, Mike. Ty, 44, our guy Ty right here, man. 12-team Superflex, PPR, start 10. Didn't say lineup for best ball. That sounds like lineup to me, the way he kind of has it. He also says the scoring is a little juiced towards receivers. Mike, this is a tough one for you. I know. I can kind of see you looking. You love Mac Jones. You love you some T. Higgins. Where you at, buddy?
I'm going to take the T. Higgins side, even though I don't, as much as I love Mac Jones, man. I'll be frank. I think Mac Jones is a big buy in Dynasty. A lot of people are out on him. Some people think Bailey Zappi should be the quarterback. Those people are dumb. But Mac Jones, I think he's going to have a much better year, right? Bill O'Brien comes in. The way the quarterback market is in Dynasty, I want as many quarterbacks as I possibly can. I want to hoard them. But T. Higgins is phenomenal, man. And anytime you can move what some people are going to probably rank outside of the top 17, 18, might even be lower in quarterback in Superflex, kind of a replaceable asset, especially in the start 10 for a wide receiver 1 of T. Higgins caliber, a top flight. I mean, I don't really care how you slice it. He's probably top 10 in anybody's ranks. So a top 10 Dynasty wide receiver who honestly, Adam, could go up. Say he gets traded to an offense like the Chargers, right? They go to try to upgrade their wide receiver position, and you pair T. Higgins as the alpha with Justin Herbert. Holy shit. You didn't think he could ascend anymore, but he definitely will. He definitely will. Josh Palmer thing is just kind of irrelevant. I mean, kind of a nice best ball play, maybe in like deeper starting lineups, like start 13. You might have some weeks where you slide him into your flex. I'm not too big on Josh Palmer. So I do like the Mac Jones for T. Higgins as much as I want to promote the whole Mac Jones is a good quarterback, hoard quarterbacks in Superflex leagues. I just can't, man. T. Higgins is too good of an asset to say no to.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing here. I guess like if I'm trying to see how the other side, it would have to be deeper starters and it'd have to be probably best ball before I even like really think about this, honestly. Like I don't think it's that close.
Yeah.
And it's more so on the market side of things even. I'm not going to say that Mac Jones, if they add some pieces, which it seems like they do not want to do in New England for whatever fucking reason, Tyquan Thornton. I mean, come on. What are we doing? How are we helping Mac Jones' career? But let's get a defensive guy to call plays this year too. Why don't we? So
Yeah,
I mean,
why not?
I still think there's reasons to like Mac Jones, but the reality is, in a start 10 lineup league, this isn't really an asset I want, even at quarterback. Right? In a start 10 lineup, I'm good. Like, I want my quarterbacks to be more star-studded than this. Now, if he's your quarterback 3, quarterback 4 for spot weeks or whatever, and you can trade out of him, fine. But the whole reason I want to trade out of Mac Jones and even Horde is to get T. Higgins out of Mac Jones. I mean, there's a scenario where T. Higgins maybe goes to a new team. They don't get a deal done. But I don't care about that. Like, even if his value drops a little bit, I believe T. Higgins is a top 12 wide receiver pretty much anywhere he goes. So I just want T. Higgins here.
I'm with you, man. Pretty straightforward, easy deal. And this is coming from a guy who will fight for Mac Jones until he's probably out of the league. Sorry, Mac.
Yeah. I tried, Mac, but it's just not going to happen. All right. Castle Black, back at it. 102 in the 310, Mike. So let's just talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown for a second, because you know we love him. And the 212 we also love. Like, we want seconds here. So I guess the question is, we already touched on, I think, on a previous episode, 2 episodes ago, I think it was, where Amon-Ra we would get out for the 102. And I'm still fully behind that. I guess now the question is 212 to 310, does that make up the difference?
No.
I would agree.
No, I'm good. Like I said, it's 212 is basically a third. We were talking about the 211. Give me another pick in the third round. I mean, honestly, if you look at it with Scott and Eric were talking about it weeks and maybe months ago at this point, but warp value of picks. And really, once you get past, in general, now this class I think is a little bit deeper. You and I can both agree there's a lot of targets in that mid to late second that we're kind of interested in the early part of the third. But generally, for rookie picks, like, the warp value is pretty much the exact same, right? It just kind of falls off a cliff, and then there's not a whole lot of difference makers that you'll find. You'll find a few, but you're going to find way more misses. So anytime you're talking about trading like a late second for mid to late third, I really don't care. I mean, obviously you want the earlier pick, you want the earlier shot at the dartboard. It looks better on a trade, but doesn't make up a whole lot for me. So the basis of the deal is really just Amon-Ra for the 102.
I agree.
And as much as I love Amon-Ra, I think value-wise, the 102 is probably going to end up fairly significantly ahead of Amon-Ra when it's all shakes out, right? How people value it. And some of the reasons we talked about earlier, I can find more buyers for the 102 than I can find for Amon-Ra. And it's not that Amon-Ra is a bad player. He's actually a pretty coveted asset, but it's got to be somebody who's like, I need another receiver, or I'm not good at receiver. They look at the 102 and they go, that could be Jahmyr Gibbs, or that could be Bryce Young, or CJ Stroud, or whoever, right? There's more opportunity for people to come to you later for the 102, at least in this time of the season, Adam, than there is for a guy like Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I think, let me just acknowledge a few things. The reason I, brought this trade in here is because I think this one might be more polarizing than we want to give it credit for. Now, I'll say this. I want 102 every time. Keep Trade Cut right now actually has these back-to-back assets, though. Early 23 first, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Wide receiver 7 versus, the second pick off the board. We know it's basically not going to happen that it's Bijan there, right? So now you're talking quarterback. But here's the thing I think about this that's such a big deal. One, now, Mike and I admit, like, wide receiver, high-end wide receiver assets now, like, they're really good assets that, we just talked about T. Higgins versus Mac Jones. Like, not every quarterback's just ahead of a receiver if they're really fucking good. Here's the problem, though. 102 and the scarcity of quarterback, like, now, once the draft happens, guess what we all know? So, one of these guys, it's not going to be last year. It's not going to be 22 where all the quarterbacks free fall and Kenny Pickett goes the first and the only first-round quarterback at pick 20. Like, we have some decent quarterback options here. We have CJ Stroud, we have Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. One of these guys is going to be top 5 pick. 2 of these guys could be top 5, top 10 picks. All 4 of them I've seen mocked in the top 15 picks. They could all be at sexy landing spots. Now all of a sudden 102, whoever your version of the top quarterback is, people will pay out the nose for that. I think that's why I want the 102. And if you made me just hold the pick and take the quarterback, I want that asset. I will say, though, depending on how you're rostered, because this is Superflex lineup start 11, This is like Amon-Ra is still going to be highly coveted at the start of next year. I just think right now we're in February. There is so much time till next year happens. And I think 102, as much as I love Amon-Ra, is going to end up being traded for a haul once the hype really hits a crescendo.
Listen, man, this year I was one of them. But you remember when A.J. Brown came over and week 1, Devontae Smith had no target. And I'm like, oh, shit, man. Like, I'm really worried about Smitty, right? Really worried about Smitty. Right. This was a guy who won a fucking Heisman Trophy, was a top 10 selection in the NFL draft, right? We had some questions about his BMI. Amon-Ra doesn't share any of that. Adam. So what happens week 1? J-Mo comes out and puts up a monster game, right? People fucking buried Amon-Ra St. Brown last year when DJ motherfucking Chark signed with the Lions, right? Like, it's over for him. It's over for Amon-Ra. So this isn't anything against Amon-Ra. I just know how the community is, and that day 3 draft capital is going to follow him around forever, right? People are finally starting to come around to him and open up to Amon-Ra. But I tell you what, the community will do. They won't hesitate to bury his ass if J-Mo comes out and starts hot, right? It's J-Mo's team now. Amon-Ra's back to just 100%. Being a slot guy, right? He's nothing more than a fancy Hunter Renfrow. Right? That's what people are going to do to Amon-Ra. So when I look at assets, right, we're comparing the two. Like, give me the one that's going to be hot, and it's going to be hot for a while, right? Anthony Richardson, if he ends up being the consensus 102, right? Ray has talked about this. He goes out and he has a 60-yard run in the preseason. People lose their fucking minds for Anthony Richardson. So that's the way it is, man. I'm sorry, Amon-Ra. I still love you. I still want you on my teams, but I got to be honest. The 102 carries the more pizzazz, the sparkly. It's more bedazzled.
And I'll be honest, the last point, and I asked the question knowing Mike's answer, really. But I like what Castle Black did here because clearly L.C. Shepard believes that 102 is slightly ahead of Amon-Ra in value. And Castle Black basically convinced him, here, 212 for 310 swap makes the difference. Like that, I think is actually pretty savvy. Like you played up, I don't know what you played up, if it's me talking seconds, if all the class hype, but if that's the difference, sign me the fuck up.
Love it.
All right. Let's get into a big boy deal, Mike. Yeah. Mike was off for a week. We're going to test it. We're going to test, the brain power, the 40 chess trade show. I don't have any worries. But Tyler Lorenz makes a huge deal here, man. A lot of assets going on. This is a 6 for 6. That's a even amount of assets in a big trade. 10 team, so quarterback's a little down. Start 11 lineup league. DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Trevor Lawrence, Danny Dimes, Brandon Ayuk, Treylon Burks, all heavy hitters. For Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Pittman, Trey Lance, Javonte Williams, Jordan Love. Also all heavy hitters minus Jordan Love. So
minus Jordan Love. Could be. We don't know, but probably not.
He's valued entirely too high. I don't think he's a heavy hitter, but he definitely has some value right now, to your point. So 6 for 6, Mike. This is going to take some breakdown. I didn't do much of this before, so I want to see what we do here.
The easiest way for me to break it down is I'm going to start with quarterbacks, right? Yep. So if I look at it and I go Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones for Dak, Prescott, and Trey Lance, I think that is very even on both sides. Trevor Lawrence over Dak Prescott, but I have Trey Lance over Daniel Jones, and probably by about the same amount. Like, I want to bet on the upside of Trey Lance.
Would you? Can you say that 2 for 2 cancels out? Is the question?
Yeah, I could say 2 for 2. I think for me, if that was the basis of the entire deal right there, like that came up with none of this other stuff in, I'd be like, damn, I'd have a hard time picking the side. Because I do like Daniel Jones too, but I really like the allure of Trey Lance's upside in that offense. And I think we could be clear that Trevor Lawrence is above Dak Prescott. There's no question about that. But Dak's still a top 12 quarterback. He's still in a good offense, and he's still going to throw to CeeDee fucking Lamb. Like, he's still
I would
good.
Agree. I think it's close enough in value. If you told me it's 2 for 2, T-Law, Danny Dimes versus Lance and Prescott, I want T-Law side. But I think value-wise, it's even. Yes. That's
fair, because I do think one of the things that I'm leaving out in the analysis is just the possibility. I mean, we did the T-Law, your T-Law trade. There's very few quarterbacks you can see ascending to that upper echelon, like where we're talking about them in top 3, top 4 dynasty startup pick. Trevor Lawrence is one of those dudes, right? Like he is, he may just be a Calvin Ridley away from us going like, fuck.
And I think what's also missed about that point of the conversation, Mike, is Calvin Ridley's coming back. Now, he may not be that great. We don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But they also might have picks. They also may decide to add. Now, all of a sudden, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, and first or second round wide receiver.
Right, like Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and they upgrade Zay Jones to Quentin Johnston or something like that.
Oh,
right?
my goodness.
Something stupid.
Don't get me
crazy
excited.
like
Jalen Hyatt, anything, man. Like, if that's the conversation, we're excited.
All right. But anyways, I think the basis of that deal, like I can just go like, either side I can see. Either side I can see. So the rest of it, we got DJ Moore, Judy, and Ayuk for Lamb, Pittman, Javonte, Jordan Love. Oh, don't let me forget Treylon Burks on the top
I was
side.
going to say, yeah. I'm looking at 4 receivers I really like on the top side, honestly.
Adam, I'm going to say this. Judy and Pittman for me will cancel out. Like, I've really come around on Judy. Agreed. And I do like what Michael Pittman has going on for him, but I think like I can look at those two and go, I don't care. Either one. I'd be happy with either one. Agreed. I think maybe the community probably values Michael Pittman higher, like still a little bit left over. You and Nate talked about it too, like 140 targets really fucking stands out to you.
Yes.
Even though he didn't do shit down the field at all.
Right.
Conversely, Jerry Jeudy did do shit down the field, and Russ was horrible. So
and scored some touchdowns later in the year too.
Right. But Judy, Pittman, I can cancel those two out. Ayuk or Javonte? At this point, I think I'll take Ayuk. I think I will take Ayuk. DJ Moore and Treylon. So this comes down to DJ Moore and Treylon or CeeDee Lamb and Jordan Love. And I think if I'm on the bottom side, I really want to fucking stack with Dak and CeeDee Lamb. Like, I think that's enough to take the L. If that you swapped out CeeDee Lamb for like A.J. Brown, right? Say a receiver in the similar range.
Yeah, let's say it's like A.J. Brown or Garrett Wilson.
All right. Swap them out for a receiver in the similar range. I will take the DJ Moore, Treylon Burks. I want the top side. I want the Tyler Lorenz side. But I understand it for the Logan side on the bottom. Like, I'm okay taking the L or taking the dart on Jordan Love just to stack in any league, any format, CeeDee Lamb with Dak Prescott. So I think when I break it down as a totality, there's a lot of really similar pieces for me. The one thing that sets it over is like maybe it looks like an L on paper because I'm, Jordan Love. I mean, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
But maybe it's an L for me on the paper, but I like the stack. Like, I'm willing to take the L. And if Tyler Lorenz, I mean, he already had the stack and he gave it up, so maybe he doesn't like the stack. Maybe he doesn't like the cap. Maybe he's an Eagles fan. And if that's the case, bravo.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this deal, though, Mike, is because it's 10-team, right? So, like, I acknowledge, and I'll admit, I don't care about the stack or nothing when I'm just talking the quarterback values here for a second. T-Law and Danny Dimes, I want that over Dak and Lance. And even if you added Love, I still want Lawrence and Dimes there because we're starting players. Like, Jordan Love to me is a nice little asset. Maybe I can move it. But 10-team, start 11, I'll take the 2 quarterbacks there. I think the biggest thing here now is that because it's 10-team, so you want the star-studded quarterback. So, like, if Trevor Lawrence actually makes a top 5, 4, 3 leap in points per game, that's a big deal, right? But here's the other problem. All the guys, what you see up there, the plethora that Tyler's grabbing, like, I love them, right? DJ Moore, Judy, Ayuk, and Burks. None of these guys we really project to be top 5 receivers in points per game. CeeDee Lamb, like, realistically could be top 3, top 4, top 5.
Could be number 1. You don't fucking know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to project that, but like, if he was the number 1 wide receiver, I don't think anyone would be like, holy shit, how did that happen?
He came out of nowhere.
Yeah, we didn't expect CeeDee Lamb to be this good. So, man, I'll say this. Start 11, though, it also makes me like the fact that I could start Burks, or let's even say Ayuk, DJ Moore, Judy, and Burks. One of those guys can all fit in your lineup. I think this is – I'll say this. I think this is a really well-done trade. I'm kind of surprised when you go 6 for 6 that it's this close. Man, I think I would love to see the teams to really break the tie. Seeing what I have right here, I think what's scary too, last quick point, Mike, about Logan's side is, like, there's a scenario, and I know you and I are big on Lance, but there's a scenario where Dak's the only quarterback he has left out of these guys halfway through the year.
Right.
I think that's what's scary about his side, but I think it's also worth the risk because CeeDee's the best scorer in this format, I think, and you get the stack. I think it's worth the risk. I like both sides, to tell you the truth. I think it's a very good trade, but if you told me I have to pick, I'm going to lean Logan's side by a hair.
Yep. Very, very close deal. I love it though, man. And it is you hit on it. It's very rare that you see a deal of this many players together where it comes out that even. Usually it's lopsided as fuck.
And I guess Lawrence may make the thumbnails because I think the other thing too is you look at my bet, probably an overpay. You look at Tyler's bet, probably an overpay a little bit. But if T-Law is this star-studded quarterback next year, if he does take the value leap into the top half, like maybe both these trades end up winning for him. But you're paying up for it both times. Mike, you know what it is. Now you had a week off, but 7 goat rings has to be on the trade show. Mike, just talk to me about this one here, man.
What the hell is going on, man?
Well, first of all, it's a 10-team Superflex start 10.
Yuck.
Yeah.
This is too many 10 teams for me, but it doesn't matter. 10-team, 12-team, Superflex, non-Superflex. I mean, what the fuck, Adam? I like Kenny Pickett, man. And I fucking hate to say this.
What about sorry, 1 for Kenny. 1? Before we get to the 304, what about 1 for 1?
I'll take Russ.
Okay.
I'll take Russ.
All right.
We've seen him be elite. Okay? You can have all the narratives about Sean Payton or whatever, but Adam, one thing, like if I'm coming around on Jerry Jeudy and I'm anticipating him having a better year, like the correlation has to match up for me. So in turn, that would mean his fucking quarterback is going to be better. So by default, if I'm in on Jeudy, I'm going to be in on Russell Wilson. It's just the way it is. So Russ over Pickett. I think it's close, though, in a lot of people's mind. Russ was so damn bad last year at times, especially in the first half of the year with Nathaniel Hackett, who's now gone, replaced by Sean Payton, which can only be good things, I would imagine. He's going to have a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, so it's probably a lot closer for anybody, and apparently 7 goat rings it's close enough that you owe me the 304. So that's wild to me, but hey, I would take Russ over Pickett straight up, though.
Okay, startup draft, you're taking Russ ahead of Pickett.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here I think is what's interesting, right? I think it's close. I really do. Obviously, you get youth with Pickett, but you may never have anywhere close to the ceiling in points per game that Russ provided ever in his career, not to mention maybe even this coming up year.
Yeah.
I think, if you told me, though, that you want to take Pickett ahead, it fits your build, all this stuff, and you wanted to make a 1-for-1 deal, because here's the thing, my Keep Trade Cut has Kenny Pickett a tier above Russell Wilson, quarterback 15 versus 17. 1-for-1, like, okay, whatever. Like, I probably would need to know your build. I probably wouldn't trade Russell Wilson away for just Kenny Pickett straight up. But if you wanted to do that, like I'll say, I just like that 7 goat rings made a deal that on paper isn't egregious, but it was smart. Like, you got the 304, which is, it's nothing sexy. Right. And in 10-team, it's really nothing sexy. But little value bumps, I think, are what we talk about all the time on this show is winning the edges overall so that you can, eventually have enough assets to make your dynasty team better. I don't think it's an egregious 7 goat rings trade, honestly, but I don't think it's a, like, I don't think I'd ever do this if I'm barely 71.
So I pulled up our guys, Cooper Trupa and Tom. Shout out to those two guys from our Discord who made us our ADP sheet. Kenny Pickett, the 609, Russ at the 701. So, I mean, it's not crazy. They're right around the same spot. But you and I have talked about it all the time, man. If I'm going to trade in tiers, like, you got to give me something. Mm-hmm. So 7 goat rings took that to the max, was like, I need something. So give me the 304. Like, you and I will usually settle for, like, give me a late third or, give me some fab or whatever. Just give me something that I feel good about it.
Let me talk to some owner that doesn't like Juwan Johnson that wants to cut him. Here, give me Juwan Johnson, right? Like, something like that, yeah.
The 7 goat rings is like, nah, I'm going to need an early third. Appreciate it.
I think that's a subtle win. All right, Schumer. Russell Wilson is again in a deal. What is going on? A lot of the same assets. Oh, my goodness. I haven't looked at some of these, Mike. I just pulled this. So Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Jamar Chase, Devontae Parker, woof, Lamar, still probably the best asset in the deal, but close with Chase, and then T. Higgins. Mike, what do you say here, buddy? This is a 12-team Superflex lineup league. It's a starting lineup league. I don't know how many we're starting, but it's 12-team Superflex in its lineup.
I will say Lamar and Chase are going to be a flip-flop for a lot of people on who they want.
Yeah.
I mean, ADP's got Chase 2 spots ahead of Lamar, and I think the community is a little bit too down on Lamar. Any kind of Superflex league, though, Adam, I don't think there's ever going to be a case where if Lamar's on the board in a startup, I'm going to take Jamar Chase over him. You know what I mean? Like,
I would agree, but
just can't
agree there. But I guess here's the question: dynasty value, where we're going to take him in startups. Let's acknowledge you and I will take Lamar ahead of Chase more often than not, probably every time. But it's also, I think, the community probably values him damn close. So now that part's there, I'm not going to say that that's even net even, but when we get to the rest of the deal. So now I think the one thing that, and the reason, Mike, you and I will take Lamar every single time ahead of Jamar Chase is because of quarterback scarcity.
Yes.
Right? So now all of a sudden, if you know, though, when you take Chase in the first round, you're going to be able to get Russ at a reasonable value, which is happening in this deal. Now you get Russ and Courtland Sutton for T. Higgins and Parker. What about the deal now?
Man, when I break it down, though, the only way I do this if I'm Schumer is if I already have another top quarterback. You know what I mean? Like if I have Mahomes, if I have a Josh Allen, a Hurts, Burrow, Herbert, T-Law, right, Justin Fields, and maybe he's got two of these guys. And you know, I have teams literally where I'm rocking 3, maybe 4 top 12 quarterbacks at him. Like that's just the way it shakes out. And I'm not letting any of them go for a discount.
What if it was Dak, let's say, a little further down?
Maybe. But I still don't have an inclination to do it. Like I'm going for another elite asset. Like I'm going to want a Jamar Chase level asset back. You know what I mean? Like we can structure the deal however the hell you want it. But if I'm giving up a top 12 quarterback, you're going to have to pay the price. If I look at it just the way it is right now without knowing his team, like I can kind of go in the what ifs of what his team may look like. Adam, I'm not going to lie, man. I'll take the Lamar Jackson, T. Higgins side all day. And I don't give a fuck about Devontae Parker. I really don't. I would do the 3 for 2. I would be ecstatic to get Lamar and T. Chase is great. Chase is wonderful. And we can talk about, you know, Lamar and Chase and all that. Top 8 dynasty quarterbacks in Superflex are extremely hard to get. Part of the reason, you know, I didn't like your deal on paper, Adam, but I understood it. Like I understood why you go after Trevor Lawrence, right?
Right, sure.
Lamar Jackson's in that same category as Trevor Lawrence, and the difference is Lamar Jackson has broken fantasy at one point before, right? He has scored so many fucking fantasy points where he like broke leagues. Was a league winner by himself. So can he get back there? I don't know. But we've already seen it, and I'm willing to make the bet on him. Russ is too far down like in the quarterback thing for me to really give a shit about. If I got to give up Chase and Russ and Sutton, but I get back Lamar, I'm already on board. And then I already talked about my love for T. Higgins and how great of an asset he is. Like Chase and Higgins, realistically, people value Jamar Chase so much higher than they value T. Higgins.
Right.
But the production is very fucking similar, Adam, as far as fantasy points go. When T. Higgins is playing and, you know, you want to decide who the alpha is on the team, 1A, 1B situation, or, you know, Chase is the 1, T's the 2. I don't really give a shit. T. Higgins puts up fantasy points and puts them up at a great clip, even with Jamar Chase there. So if I'm looking at it like I'm getting a fantastic receiver back too, and I give up Russ and Sutton, oh, who the fuck cares? Like, I'm good.
So let me say, I think we have a lot of the same sentiments about this deal. I wish Corey would have told us how many we're starting here. And everyone that's watching this, patrons, if you could, make sure you give me all the context of the league. And I think format, settings, all that's very important when I grade trades. Yeah. So same thing as Mike. Mike, if I know that this is a big starting lineup, like 13, 12-ish or more, I can understand why you're saying Sutton is someone I think that could be startable, and I also have a stack option with Russ to really give me a reason why I would take the other side. But if it's start 9, start 10, start 11, like there's no way. Because here's the thing. Courtland Sutton, the way he's trending, is wide receiver 42 on keep, trade, cut, which what do we think about that? That becomes roster clogger in a shallow starter league. So I guess like the big difference, right, is Sutton to Parker based on how people probably view those assets. But my problem is if we're starting 9, 10, or 11, I don't give a fuck about either one of them. That's honestly like the best way I could describe where the differences are, because Jamar Chase is elite as he is, and I want Jamar Chase. Don't get it twisted. I'm not telling you last year I don't want Chase, tear down, take him, get rid of him. What I'm telling you is I want him, but I also don't want to just lose a star-studded quarterback to get quarterback 17 back in Russell Wilson.
Right.
I think the big thing is if I'm starting a bunch of assets and we're starting 13, 14 or something like that, 12 even maybe, you say Cortland Sutton could be a starter or a replaceable level player for me, and I have a stack, I could maybe get it. Otherwise, I want the Bracer 97 side.
Right. Even, I mean, I started by saying Lamar and Chase are close. So if you cancel those two out for people, like would I pay Russ and Sutton for T. Higgins? Like, don't factor in that I need a quarterback or anything like that, right? We're not factoring that into the first part, so we don't factor it in the second part. You're damn right I pay Russ and fucking Cortland Sutton to go get T. Higgins. And you just give me Devontae Parker back because you wanted to make it look
I want
pretty.
you to give me something, which is gross, but I want something.
I need David goddamn Putney.
You're out of your mind. All right, so 12-team best ball Superflex PPR, half-point tight end premium, and we're starting 11. So, Mike, knowing all this, I will say I didn't write it all down on this file, but Go H Devil did say he has quite a bit of tight ends, like Pitts, Kittle, forget all of them, but he has a good tight end room. So he is trading away Mark Andrews in the 109, which – like the 109 is a nice little asset too, which is kind of the interesting part about this. But he's getting 3 first back. So he's getting the best pick back 106. Then he's getting 111, 112. Trading away Mark Andrews 109. Mike, I don't know exactly how you want to break this down, but I'm curious to see what you think about this one.
Man. So if you think about Mark Andrews or like pick 6, Mark Andrews, this is going to include non-tight end premium leagues. It's probably going to go in like the 3rd round. Maybe the late 2nd.
Right.
For a lot of people.
I don't think Mark Andrews gets to the 4th, even in non-tight end premium.
I mean, right now on ADP he's at 312, but this is also factored in. A lot of people don't play in tight end premium leagues,
Agreed.
right? So they don't.
Agreed.
Pick 6 is going.
But that's
in
the point.
mid-part
Even
of the
there,
5th.
it's 312. Like he doesn't get out of the 3rd.
I will say I will take Mark Andrews over
106.
pick 106 in a tight end premium league.
I agree. But what about in best ball 109 for 111, 112 now?
The tough part for me, Adam, is the class is deep. The 111 and the 112 are going to be great picks, right? We like the second rounders. The problem I have is I don't fully have a grasp on what the community is going to do with some of these quarterbacks, right? The Anthony Richardsons and the Will Levises.
Because we don't know what their draft capital is going to be. We don't know their landing spot.
Right, but even then, like there just seems to be so much strong pushback and hate that, man, I can see so many leagues, Adam, where you're going to be on the clock at 109 and one of those quarterbacks is there.
Well, I
and
agree.
If you tell me this is Mark Andrews and a quarterback who gets top 15 NFL draft capital, like I want the Mark Andrews and the fucking 109 side over the
I knew you were going to go there, which is why I'm glad to talk about this, because what I like is that he kind of blocks that, though, by getting 106.
Right.
So now, like, on surface, like, yeah, I'm with you, Mark Andrews over 106. But now if a quarterback falls, like, I get that value.
He'll get one of them, right?
But what if by 105, you know, we have one left, but it was going to fall. But now at 106, you're not going to let it fall.
That's true. That's true. If you get the tail end, right? But we've also seen like random drafts. Adam, we just did the mock draft.
109 was Gibbs last couple weeks ago, right?
Right. No shit. Like
I'm not saying I don't value 109 for the record. I'm with you, but 111, 112 I also value, and it's best ball. We're 2 for 1 here. It's okay. Tell me your thoughts, man. Give us the real. I want the McNutted real version. I don't cut the beard off or not. I want the real McNutted answer here.
Where it stands right now, I want Mark Andrews in the 109 until I get some clarity on tiers in this draft class. Like the 109 just kind of feels like the pivot point. Right, I talked about the quarterbacks, but we just talked about Jahmyr Gibbs. Like I've seen shit fall to the 109 where I go, that shouldn't be there. At the 111, the 112, there's good players there that I like, Adam. I just feel like they're, a tier behind. It's kind of like I'm choosing the next set of, Kayshon Boutte or another wide receiver or, maybe RB3, RB4 off the board. I'm not getting a quarterback, and I'm not getting, most people's RB2 is not falling to the 111, the 112.
I'll be honest. I think where you're going is where I felt the same about this. And this is a very subtle difference. But for me, anyway, like I think Go H Double put in the chat, I have a good tight end room. As like I can afford to trade Mark Andrews, and I would agree there. But you also have leverage, and Pity 83 doesn't have a tight end probably, which is why he's going to buy Mark Andrews. For me, Mike, the big thing I would do, and Go H Double, everyone watching, it's a subtle difference, but you're going to give me 106 and 111 or 106 and 112, and you're going to scrap the 109 thing.
Correct.
I think that's the big thing for me. I'll take 106. I'll even take 112 and 106. You can give me your worst one, but that's the price. I'm not giving you the edge of 109, 111 swap. And I know it may not seem like a big deal, and maybe it doesn't come back to bite in the ass, but for me, that's just a leverage thing. Little points I like to do when I leverage.
100%. I'm with you there, man. Don't give up the leverage when you have it. Don't give it up so easily, I should say.
Agree. All right, Mike. Lineup start 10. 4-point pass touchdown, half PPR. Here's what I'm finishing with this, Mike, and I guess here's the big thing for me. I don't know how a couple weeks ago, we got Drew on. Mike and I are laughing because it's 7 trades and 3 of them are 102 leveraging into top quarterbacks. And here we are. I mean, NAYR, Nair 1220 must not have watched because here we are, buddy. History has a tendency to repeat itself. I don't know that there's much analysis, but Mike, go ahead, man. Especially its lineup, too.
Yeah, man, I ran out of all the 8 Mile references that I had. I unloaded the clip with Drew. That's all I had. But, yeah, Koopa was definitely watching because he was like, I got the 102. Let me see what I could do. Let me see if I can go get a elite quarterback. And no matter what people say about Kyler, man, he's still a top 12 dynasty quarterback pretty easily. So if I'm looking at it, I'm going to take Kyler over the 102. Not a whole lot of analysis there. I think this one's a little bit more on the community might be closer to split, where they'd be like, well, Kyler's this or Kyler that, or Kyler might not play next year.
I mean, I think there's a scenario where 102 ends up in a sexy landing spot, top 5 pick, and the community might lean that way. I don't know. I still think I want Kyler.
Yeah, I'm pretty clear here. I'd take Kyler. I'll take the known commodity right now. I do like the quarterbacks in this class, man, and I think the 102 is a fantastic pick. And I want it, man. I want the 102 because of the liquidity. But, Adam, the only thing I want more than liquidity is top 12 dynasty quarterbacks. I want them all. I want them all because it's a finite asset, and we don't seem to be getting any immediately that are going to replace that or threaten that. So give me all the ones that currently exist. And that does include Tua Tagovailoa, which people hate. But you can get him for cheap. So he's probably QB 12 for most people, and it's pretty easy to acquire him.
Yeah, he's trending down because of the concussion, the third one. But, yeah, I think, that last trade we've already kind of gone over. I think overall, Mike, it was a good amount of deals.
Yes, sir.
Good deals going through there. 7 goat rings, actually, although we both want his side again, shocker. It was, a little more craftful. It wasn't egregious and blowing people out of the water.
Mild.
So, yeah, it was a good trade show, man. So, any final thoughts before we get out of here, man?
No, man. I just I want to say thank you to everybody who tunes in weekly. Sorry I couldn't make it last week. We're going to try to work around it the best we can. Shitty situation at work, man. We got a guy getting hip surgery, so I got to fill in for him while he's gone. So luckily this week I was able to do the trade show. But big shout out to you, man, for holding it down. And not only do you hold it down, you one up me every time I'm fucking gone. You get fantastic guests, where they're like, I'm just trying to fill Mike's shoes. It was pretty easy to do with your Nate List, Mike Lou. You got Ike on here on the AMA.
Speaking of which, was I right about the shoe size?
What'd you say?
I said 12.
At 13, but you were very
close.
All
right. I wasn't sure. I knew you were close to mine, but I wasn't sure. All right, I'll take that. But
I couldn't remember if you said 12 or 12 and a half, because 12 and a half I would have gave you the credit for, but 12 you were one off. But
yeah, Nate was like maybe like 11 and a half. He was trying to downplay.
Nate must be a tall son of a bitch.
Yeah, man. He had a 14 size shoe. I was like, what? But
mine are only that big because the fat squeezes in and then's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, you got it. Whether it's the wide E version, whatever it is.
Yes.
But here's the thing, Mike. I did that, but every week I want to pod with you, man. I want to be on the trade show with you. This is why we do it together. You're a part of this hip thing, and ultimately, because he's getting hips, he's doing the hip replacement surgery. I got to keep it hip here. And here's the thing, Mike. we're going to keep bringing this to you. We're going to keep killing it all off season. So everyone tapping in, we really appreciate it. We appreciate you tapping in. Let us know what you think of the deals. Let us know what you think of, you know, some of the trades and what we said was right or wrong. Put it in the comments. Go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We appreciate it. We hope you have a great weekend. We are out of this thing. Peace.
Peace.